None of the AI engines today have a true color managed pipeline. However, with proper planning, you absolutely can blend shots together, and that's a big part of what I'm going to show you today. I know what you're going to say. You hate AI. I get it. I know a lot of people really, really don't like it. It's the end of the world. It's the end of creativity. It's the end of everything we know. And I get it. But give me a few minutes here. I want to show you how AI can be used for people like you and me to do things that we've never been able to do before, that we would never be able to afford to do, and frankly, to do things that are just cool. Every disruptive technology has been the end of the world. I'm sure when sound first came to motion pictures, people thought that was the end of the world. Color TV was probably the end of the world. VFX was certainly the end of cinema as we know it today. If you look at early VFX, it was really bad. But it got better, and now, today, like every single shot you see pretty much has VFX. If you're looking at a movie, a TV show, a commercial, odds are VFX is in there, and odds are you can't even tell. It's little things like sky replacement or crowd fill-in, and that stuff costs money, a lot of money. That is an expensive VFX track to go down, so people like me, and I'm guessing people like you, don't have the budget for this sort of thing. There are plenty of shots that I have done over my career where I would wish that I could have added something to it, or even shots that I never took because, well, if I could, I would do this thing, but I don't have the skills or the budget to do that, so it's not going to happen. But AI is letting us do that. Now, it's far from perfect. We are in the earliest days, but it's getting better, and it's getting better fast. I'm going to show you some of the really cool things that content creators can do today. Storyboarding, we've heard about. That's a cool one for sure. Motion graphics. You can do motion graphics in AI now. But what I'm going to be focusing on are integrating AI VFX shots with real-world footage, because to me, that's the most interesting use case, where I have a shot and I need to add something. I need to enhance it. I need to do something else to it. And that requires VFX, and I don't have the skill set for it. So if I can use AI to do that, great. The problem is right now that it is very hard to get those shots to match perfectly. As far as I can tell from talking to quite a lot of people, none of the AI engines today have a true color managed pipeline. What you feed into the AI is not going to look the same as what you get back out of it. And I've gone as far as even using color chip charts to try and manage the difference and blend the shots together. And I'm going to show you that because it can get you close, but it doesn't get you all the way. However, with proper planning, you absolutely can blend shots together, and that's a big part of what I'm going to show you today. By the way, this set right here, this is all real. This isn't AI, except, well, the background, the projection on the background is projected AI images, but it is an actual projection. See, look, I can block. It's actual projection of the AI stuff that I've been testing with. Okay, let's go in the other room. The AI service that we're using is Higgsfield AI. Let me start with a quick tour of the interface here. This is the main page. Across the top, you have your main views. You've got your image AI, your video AI, your character development. You can actually build an entire character. And in fact, you can build a character and name them. You can build that character based off of photos. So a real person, like recreating yourself. You can create a whole new character from scratch, all in AI. It's pretty great. And then you can reference them. So you could say, have at PhotoJoseph walking through the forest. Vibe Motion is for doing motion graphics, and then Cinema Studio is one of the biggest and most important ones. We're going to spend some time in there. Under your account settings, if you go to manage account, you have the ability to enter a promo code. And why am I showing you where to enter the promo codes? Because I have 5 of them to give away. Each promo code is for a full month of the Ultimate package. That is a $49 value, and the way you win that will be revealed at the end of this video, so you got to stick around. Building a transition between two scenes, so a scene ends here and then transition into the beginning of a scene here, is one of the things that I'm most interested in. And so for the first real attempt at this, I thought I would just give Higgsfield the most ridiculous images so completely far apart, just to see what it could do. So we started off with the image on the left, which is me wearing a coat and a hat outdoors at a train station, transitioning then into the image on the right, which is me without a coat or a hat, sitting down inside my studio. So I dropped these into Higgsfield with this prompt here. Build a transition between these two frames. The man should take off his coat and hat, and here's what it did. I mean, that was really cool. The hat flying off was a little bit weird, but I went back in and I gave it some more refined instructions, and here's the final result. Transitioning from the end of the first shot, hat and coat come off, and I sit down. Now you probably noticed the slight color shift, and that's something we're going to talk about later, but that is pretty darn cool. All right, let's look at a few other things. Because I'm so into the idea of transitions, I shot a couple things specifically for that. So here I am walking down the bridge with my coat on, and then I transition to this shot without the coat and just a little bit farther along the bridge. And here's what the software did. From walking here to walking here. And then I shot a second ending so that I could go to something a bit more dramatic. So from the same beginning here on the bridge to somewhere else entirely down by the river. Sometimes you just want to do a really cool transition, let's say from walking here.
Safety pill.
And suddenly you're walking somewhere else. Now the funny thing is there's some really weird dialogue that popped up, and this is an important thing to understand about how this generative AI works. It does what you tell it to do, but then it also just tries to kind of make up things to add in there as well. So you need to be very specific. If you just say a man walks down the beach, well, how does it know what the time of day is like, what the weather's like, if there's other people there, anything else that would be about that scene? If it doesn't know, because you haven't told it, it's just going to make something up. So what you can do is be very specific about what you want it to do, and also be specific about what you don't want it to do. So what I neglected to do in this iteration was to tell the AI to not have the man talk. So that's something that you can do. The way that you make these transitions is really easy. You start by exporting frames of video. So I would go to the last frame of the shot that I want to transition from and the first frame of the shot that I want to transition to. Export each one of those as stills and then head over to Higgsfield, and under Cinema Studios, go down to video, and then over here you add your start and end frame. So I click on start frame and I would upload the photo if I haven't already. Anything I've already uploaded is saved here for me, so I'll add that as the start and that as the end frame. And then give it a prompt. Just tell it what you want it to do. You have options like the speed ramping. It can be linear. It can be custom. You can be automatic. You can change the duration. Depending on the model, you'll find different duration availabilities throughout Higgsfield. And down here at the bottom, there's other options like the aspect ratio that you want, the resolution, which does max out at 1080p for most things. However, there is an upscaler in here that is using some Topaz technology that is actually remarkably good. When you add 1080p video that you've created here into the upscaler and tell it to go up to 4K, it's remarkable what it's doing. You can still work in 4K, you just don't get the original source. It's upscaled, but it's amazing. Another way to do things in here is to create an image from scratch. So let's go to the Image tab. Here you can create a still image with any description you want, and here you can use the @ to use a character that you've created in your scene. And from here you can choose what the camera is going to look like. So you have all these different types of cameras, some really nice high-end cameras that you can emulate, nice high-end lenses that you can emulate, different focal lengths and different apertures to choose from. So a lot of possibilities in here. And then once you've built a still image, you can animate it. Let me show you a few other of the cool little things that I built, just a little test and some fun that I had, and then we're getting into the color correction side of it. That's me opening the blinds to my studio. You can see it's a very gray day outside, and told Higgsfield to make it look like I was opening the blinds onto New York City. Look at that. I mean, that is pretty wild. Notice that not only do we have the sunset through the window, but look over here at this side where there's just a little bit of sky peeking through. It even made that orange. Absolutely remarkable. I handheld my iPhone and pointed it down the tracks as if a train was coming, and then quickly panned the camera as if a train was going by and I was following it. And it's a little bit wobbly, it's a little funky, but it's pretty darn cool. And this is an opportunity to point out that the image generation isn't just about images that you're going to use in your final video. This can be just about testing, about playing with different ideas, about building storyboards. This may not be good enough for final use, but it's certainly good enough to communicate to the rest of the crew what's going to be happening. And if you're going to be paying for a train to go by, then you're probably paying a lot of money for that. So you really want to make sure that you've got everything right before you start rolling. We start off with the clean plate. And then the next shot is me walking into the scene and talking away. My intention was to take a still frame from the clean plate have Higgsfield turn that into a different type of scene, and then animate it. So that's looking pretty good there. And then comp that back in. Take the video of me talking, use a magic mask to mask me out, and then drop me on top of it. I don't want to call it a final shot, but this is a pretty good end result without a huge amount of work. All right, now let's do the hard part. Let's talk about color. As I said in the intro, there is no consistent color pipeline. What you upload and what you get back is not going to be the same. I've talked to people at Higgsfield, I've talked to a lot of very big power users, and no one has a solution for how to make this work. It's just not built into the models. And honestly, this is something that the AI companies are going to have to figure out. They're going to have to figure out how to respect the color profile, keep the colors consistent in and out. So for now, what you need to do is match them manually. And there's a couple of things that you can do to match and make that a little bit easier, because getting it perfect is really, really hard to do. I'm a pretty good colorist. I'm certainly not a professional colorist, but I couldn't get it exactly right. So I want to show you a couple of tricks on how you can kind of improve that and make the transition a bit more believable. So let's start with what I did to try this out. This is my color chart test. I use an X-Rite color checker to calibrate between the two shots. I'm not saying you have to do this for every shot, absolutely. But if you want it to be as close as perfect as possible, then this might be worth the time to do until there's a true color pipeline in place. Effectively, what I did was I shot with a color chip chart in the environment where I was going to do the transition. And if you're going to do a transition from one environment to another, then you should probably do it on both ends, just so you have both bases covered. But effectively, I took a still frame of me holding the color chart, and then a second one, like one frame later or whatever, and I dropped those in and just had it make a video the same way that I had it make the transition video. Start frame, end frame, and then in this one, just to have some fun with it, I told it to do an explosion of the color chips off of the chart. So that was just kind of cute. But what that gave me was a video that I could bring in and then color match between. Now, before I exported the frame to do the animation from, I had to make sure that the color chip chart was accurate. So at this point, I'm not color grading for a final look. I'm color grading for a baseline, a reference, a Rec 709, just as true as possible. The look we'll work on later. But for this case, I wanted to make sure that my chip chart was totally accurate. And so if we go into the color room in Resolve and I bring up my vector scope on here, with the effect turned off, you can see that the color points are pointing not exactly at the position. If you've never used one of these before, the whole idea of the chip chart is that you take these little dots here, that would be magenta, and make sure they're pointing right at the M. The blue ones here should be pointing right at the blue, and so on. And so if I turn my effect back on, there's the end result. So I got this lined up super, super close. And if you look at the image as I toggle this on and off, it's a very, very minimal difference, but the difference is quite noticeable on the scopes. So then that frame with the corrected colors is what I exported, did the video, brought it back in, and then now I need to do the same thing to the video. First, let me just show you the video clip. So I'll turn this back on, and here's what we got. You can see how they explode out. That was kind of fun. But if you look closely, you'll see there is a color shift difference. And you notice it mostly in the background. Honestly, the color chips don't look that different, but the background, the wall, the green here, that's where you really see the difference. So in a situation like that, if you can't tell the difference in the middle part, then the third trick that I'm going to give you is probably all you would need to do. But in this case, I'm doing all of them. By the way, if you are going to do a 4K render, make sure you do the 4K upscale before you do the color correction. Stacked on top of each other here, I have the 4K and the HD version underneath it. And the color differences are very subtle, but they're there. As I toggle this on and off, you can see a slight change. So don't waste your time doing all the corrections for the HD version when you might have to redo them for the 4K version. So do your 4K output and bring that in. So this is my 4K output. If I go into the color room and I look at this, once again, we'll bring the scopes up and you can see that effectively what I did was adjust the colors to make them match. So now that I've corrected those two, I have two sets of colors that are matching very, very closely. But we still are going to have a little bit of a difference to the background. So there's two things that I do to make that transition believable. The first is to add a smooth cut. Smooth cut is a transition in Resolve where it blends everything together. And you usually only want to make it a few frames long. And you have to be careful. It can't be too long or else things will get a little bit weird in there. But it can help with the transition of colors. So already right here, we can see as I step through that transition is much smoother and cleaner now. We just don't see the background shift as much. That can help quite a lot. That little smooth cut for just a few frames is just enough to blend those colors together so your eye doesn't focus on the color shift. But the last one is kind of a heavy hammer, but it can work. if the scene will allow you to do it. But here's what we're going to do. In this particular scene, what is basically changing the most, what we're really seeing the most, is that background in there. So I took some of the original video and duplicated that on a new layer, and I just need a second or so of that. And then I brought that into the color room and put a mask on it. So if we look at just that layer, that's the clip that we're seeing here. I put a round mask nicely feathered off so that this is the background from the outgoing shot, and then the center is where we're going to see the incoming shot. So now all I need to do is fade this outgoing shot, this part that's not really moving, fade that outgoing shot out over several more frames so that it has time to blend. And that's what I've done in here. You can see that blend out. If you look down here, focus on the green leaves in here as I toggle back and forth, that's where you can see it. So I'm back and forth one frame at a time. But if I take that clip and fade it in over the duration of the transition underneath, then it becomes almost invisible. It's still there. If you're looking for it, you're going to see it. But if you're not looking for it, you won't. And you're going to get this nice smooth transition. So those are the big ways that I came up with to color manage this. And believe me, in preparing for this video, this is what I focused 90% of my time on, trying to figure out the way to do this best. There might be more ways, there might be more techniques, and by all means, if you've got one, let us know in the comments down below. We want to know the best way to make this work. But if you can, use a color chip chart. That's going to make things a lot easier as you transition from your original footage to your AI generated footage. Use that little smooth cut to blend things together, and then consider taking a piece of the original video on top, masking it out, basically creating a garbage mask, and then blending that in, fading that in. It can work out really well. Now, of course, I know there's one more thing you're waiting for, and that's to find out how you can win one of the available 1 month free of the Ultimate Package. So here's the link on your screen, or scan this QR code. That's going to take you to a contest page. On that contest page, you get one entry for everything you do. Make sure you subscribe to my YouTube channel, subscribe to me on Instagram, subscribe to my newsletter, and visit the Higgsfield AI website. With all of those, each one of those gives you a point. That gives you a point to enter, and then there'll be 5 winners drawn. Depending on when you're watching this, the contest might be over, so don't waste any time. Get there quickly. And if you click on it and it says the contest is over, sorry. All right, that's what I got for you. I hope I've been able to move you just 1% closer to AI's actually kind of cool. It's all in how you use it. There is so much possibility, so much opportunity in here. I've been having an absolute blast. Am I going to use this in every single video that I create from now on? No, of course not. But there are places where I need something like this. There are some places where I just might want to use it because it's fun and cool. Why not? It's all part of the storytelling process. So let me know what you would do with AI, what new ideas you might have come up with as a result of this video. Put them in the comments down below. Like, subscribe, share the video, all that good stuff, and I'll see you in the next video.